It is recording. Go ahead, Russell. Take it
Hi,
away.
everybody. Yeah, I just wanted to check in with everybody, see how you're doing. There's lots of change happening in the world of AI and robotics and search engines. I released some of the two information gain students. We've changed the name to Eureka Gain, which includes everything like information gain and the rest. So that is available. We are moving into an era that not in my wildest imagination have I thought was going to happen in my lifetime. So we are here, and there's a lot of stuff I would like to tell you about our local SEO that's coming out. Kayla and I will be formally, before I just drop bombs, I'm gonna just make sure that she governs what we roll out on that. So I am using a fully automated AI system to manage the profile in its entirety in conjunction when I use brand signals. I'm using AI technology to parse sites to confirm structure. That makes things a lot easier. I'm trying to find a way to make sure that each one of you have the tool sets available to you, and I'm just working on a rollout for that. So that was my week. The wife's away. The husband will play. I caught up. I caught up with a couple of months, as you guys are aware. I don't have to BS you. A couple of months of friction where I wasn't fully accelerating all these products. Brand Signals has new rollout technology. Lots of bugs that we have had to squash and other things like that. So I guess
yeah, if you weren't able to be on yesterday's webinar, there was a bunch of rollouts that Jimmy did, and so we'll be getting that replay up to the members area. Probably by the end of today.
Yeah, in fact, that's I've got that rolling now. So I guess I would start with this. Does anybody have any questions or any directions that they would like today to go? Again, our primary focus is done with you, done for you, and the world's best human in the loop content creation. That's where we're moving forward as a company. And our values are really about, especially in light of the meta simulator and the NVIDIA world simulation engine that teaches robots 100 years in less than 10 days of martial arts. We're in a world now, we're in a world now where I'm going to be less secretive with my close inner group because it won't matter that much longer.
Yeah, secrets are becoming less secret because there's, the AI out there that will just tell everybody secrets anyway. So
exactly, and just and so as we proceed, when I say that, there are things that are private about our businesses and all these things, but I would like a group of close-in people like we have here to continue on the journey, so that I can start giving you guys probably more privately early releases of things that we're working on. And yeah, let's see if trying to figure out what am I sharing a screen?
You are sharing your screen. You've got your browser open there.
Okay, can you see the
yes
stuff? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so this is pretty much almost done. This was not done by myself. This is where things are going, and most of the stuff down here is already in place. So how you like them potatoes? So things are not progressing in a linear process with artificial intelligence. And those of us what Kaylin and I have set up is, with the Eureka Gain score and other things that we're working with, content that takes all of Jimmy's work in image. I think one of the biggest things that Kaylin and Jimmy and I discovered together in our time working together for all that time was image encryption. Excuse me. And I think it's really, really good that we discovered that and worked with him on that. It's a huge part of how Jimmy's technology system, which is called Tiger, works. It's a huge part. okay, of how a lot of these systems work. So we discovered that pretty much during this era, which is leading to answer engines. Okay, so an answer engine with OpenAI releasing the Chrome bar, and I'm sure, have you guys seen the Chrome search bar that bypasses Google in its entirety? Most people are not using it. There's a lot of uninstalls right now, but you guys know what I'm talking about?
Why don't you go ahead and show us in case?
Sure. So we're watching the transition here, and I don't think that Google is going to go away directly like that. It is mostly, here we go. So this is the answer engine for ChatGPT. Okay, and what that means is it'll start parsing the web and so on and so forth. Has everybody seen that? Just maybe give me
Well,
a head nod.
so it was really interesting. I want to interject here. I was talking, so in the nomadic, lifestyle, when I was at this full-time family rally, a majority of the dads are in, the digital space. Obviously, they have to be able to work remotely. And so, as I was talking to them, the majority of them have not used Google in a very long time to do their searching. um Another mom was saying, she runs all of her email responses, through chat GPT, because she tends to be very blunt and it can sometimes be taken wrong. And so, she'll put down her response and then she'll tell, chat GPT to make it nicer, you know when she replies to customers and whatnot, it's, not quite so abrasive as she tends to come across. But I just found it very interesting that, in this segment of, I think there was about 15 or 20 families there, that of the other digital nomads that, I was interacting with, the majority of them have completely stepped away from Google as their search engine. They were all using ChatGPT for search results, things to do, helping them rewrite content for on a personal basis for their emails and stuff like that. I just found it, it's nice to get real world interaction with people that are not in the SEO field or content creation field, but are, out there just, working people that and what they're using, and they're not using Google anymore.
Yeah, has anybody had any time yet to use the GPT that we're using prior to the microsats called the Eureka filter? Yet, have you had any opportunity to look at it? Okay. So with the plugins that are coming in, the objective here is, let's go back to the master plan just so you guys know, and then how you can apply it today. There's a lot of things that you can apply today. And also, I'll be chapping a lot of you guys for community feedback as we roll forward. I want to make sure that everybody has everything available to them and that everybody knows where everything is. We're going to be whittling away at anything inside the members area that's caused any kind of confusion or like a lot of posting this and that. We'll just kind of put it in an archive and we'll stay very, very focused on what we're doing. So main thing for you guys to kind of look at here is answer engines and chat GPT are going to, most of this stuff is stackable. Do you guys know what I mean by a stackable business system? Somebody wants to chime in here and kind of guess about, give me a feedback of what I mean by stackable. Does anybody know what a tech stack is?
A number of technologies stacked on top of each other that work together, kind of amplify each other.
Yes, correct. And that's basically what's happening here. So I don't want to give you the impression that there's I don't want to give you the impression that there is a linear progression here, because there's not. It's all happening simultaneously. And the beautiful thing about what I recently found out, independent of what we were doing, that Dr. Eureka is not a score over at NVIDIA. Does everybody know who NVIDIA is? Okay, NVIDIA it's not a score. It's actually a robot scenario where they're able to teach robots simultaneously. So there's about a million years of training that can happen in less than a year. And that means that, so here's the main thing I want you guys to understand. And by the way, it applies to creating content, which is like amazing. So if it seems to you that I'm talking about things that are not related, it's very much related. So let's go ahead and talk about why we're heading the way that we are with content. Okay, I'll make sure that So you see this here, guys? A lot of people thought that this was, the first impact when it came out a few months ago was that this was CGI, and it's totally not. This is a robot dog that's being trained in real time, and it's used about 50 years worth of training that only took about a day and a half to modulate. Okay, so just so you guys understand, these yoga balls are not predictable. They have an unpredictable or a highly improbable matrix of uncertainty. So it's very difficult for anybody or anything to balance on them. That's why you have circus acts where people are balancing on balls, because it's hard, right? So not only that, it's hard with 2 legs, it's hard with 4 legs. So the point here is that this training took place, and this is what's happening at scale, okay, with what's called the NVIDIA World Simulator Engine, okay? So I just want you to be aware of that. Hold that in the back of your mind, that world simulation is actually connected to everything else that we're doing. All right, so that's what you would call the singularity. When everybody can buy a robot for $6,000, which is second quarter of next year, the 12,000 dollar robots are supposed to come down, and they're basically supposed to be able to do whatever it is you want them to do. Like, what could go wrong? There's
Yeah,
pictures
don't you want them to be your babysitter, Adrian? I mean, like, you can just buy a $6,000 robot and then you can go out on a date with your wife, you know?
There is actually a imperative to create robot babysitters. Okay.
What could go wrong?
Well, they already have once we get kind of the doom scrolling stuff out of the way, but then we can move back to what we're talking about. But it's really interesting that there are people that have volunteered to use the approved robot for dental AI. So you guys can just add that.
Dental AI.
You can add that to you can add that to your list of crazy stuff that shouldn't exist so soon. Okay. So the robotic stuff is heading in this direction. And yeah, there's Chris, who's like promoting all this stuff, and he's out of Austin, Texas, where we just came from. So there's going to be huge advantages to AI in delicate surgeries and robotic surgeries and the rest. But my point to you that I want to drive home is that they are being trained in minutes. Okay, what takes a human years to get their doctorate, to get their licenses, to get it's like the Matrix, they're downloading, I can do Kung Fu, like Neo and the Matrix, right? Like, but it's real from a robotic perspective, and they can distribute that knowledge to the rest of the swarm and to the rest of the hive. So I'm explaining this to you because this is what the singularity actually is. Here's the chart that Kaylin created. That's what the singularity is. And there's a level below the singularity that we're not going to talk about in our business section because it's theological. Okay, so we're going to have to get into God and spirituality and what recursive singular algorithms actually are, which I've been studying my whole life. So we need to go. So there is a level past this, which we can talk about in some other forum. Okay, I call that Sunday AI chat, which I actually have. All right, so main thing here is let's go ahead and talk about what all that means. I'm going to go ahead and pull out my whiteboard for you real quick. And we are going to, we've been busy. Cool. I need to make this my main display. And hopefully, I'm not sure, Kaylin has said that do you think I should not use the widescreen?
It seems to be working fine today.
It's just when I start to draw something that it's a problem.
Oh, we'll see.
Okay. All right, cool. So what I'm really trying to tell you guys is it's exciting to know what has been gained and what has been lost. Okay, let me see if you guys can, I'm not able to get this to work.
We can see your little black cursor on there. So just not drawing.
I'm going to change my screen. I think there's a problem with this large monitor with Zoom.
Could be.
For some reason.
So we've been addressing the audit and the strategy, and so I'm guessing that what you're going into here is how we can use the AI to actually implement the strategies that.
Yeah, and we're going to give an actual example.
Wonderful.
Just as soon as I can figure out my technology.
Dang technology. If you had an AI, the AI would be able to figure it out for you.
Oh, for sure.
Has anybody tried the, I think it's from Claude Computer Use? Where
Yeah.
you can have Claude control your computer?
No, that is not ready. And it had several glitches. I checked in with my community with some more technical. It's not quite ready, but it's also one of those things that, you know, what could go wrong, right? And in order to put safeguards on there, sorry guys, I appreciate your patience with me today. It's been a long week. Okay, let's share the screen. And we are going to do screen 3. I'm trying my big screen again, so let me know if it's a problem, then I'll just move it over. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got. And let's keep in mind that what I'm trying to explain to you guys is the Eureka gain function, and we'll be getting feedback from you inside the Eureka gain community. Okay, it's available, and I'll be able to talk to some of you guys about that. Basically, it's a filter we created. Okay, and so this is the core of what I'm trying to talk about, why we created it, what's going on, now that you have the map that is available to all of you. Can you see my screen there, Caitlin?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Oh, and you're drawing. Okay.
Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So everything that's happening at the bottom of our thing link, okay, which is the singularity that we're moving to very, very rapidly. All of that world engine, let's just call it the metamorph. That's the robot dog that we showed you. We'll call this the world simulator. Okay, it's got a bunch of different names, the metamorphic program, the rest. This is designed to train robots to compress time. So give them 100 years in a day. Okay, and 1,000,000 years across all the robots in 2 weeks. Okay, all of this is trained, guys, listen to this, only on ChatGPT 4.0. Okay, this is what I'm trying to get you to. It's not an easy thing to grasp. It takes a second. This that I wrote was trained on GPT 4.0, but also will work with the 0 mini, the 1.0 mini and the 1.0 pre-release. The one that the Department of Defense is basically saying, hey, you might want to hold back on this. That is where the world changes. That's the tipping point. So I'm trying to prepare you guys for. So this is why. Let me go ahead and. This is why this right here, this is being trained. I needed more coffee this morning, quite obviously. Okay, so this is our diagram. This stuff, which is the answer engines, are being trained already by the singularity. Okay, it goes both ways. The embodied robotic agents. Okay, just so you guys know where things are at. This is not all doom and gloom. We've got some things to discuss, but I just want you guys to understand like why we did what we did with the Eureka gain score, what's going on. And to make matters like even more interesting, we have Jim Cameron, creator of the Terminator series. You guys remember that? He just got back from the AI robotics conference and created a special emergency video for humanity. You can't make this stuff up, guys. All right, you just can't. So he's the science fiction inventor of Skynet, telling you that Skynet is here. And by the way, he's very pro AI. Okay, and the reason he's pro AI is because Hollywood is in a state of collapse right now, and that's not an exaggeration, and that's not hype. That's just the way that it is. Partially because people don't really want to collaborate with AI. Hollywood has been spoiled for so long with their creative license and their ability to, there's a lot of corruption happening in Hollywood, as you know, right now. Somebody just decided to get rid of half the population of actors in Hollywood in a single pen stroke. So that's a different topic, which we won't get into. But my point here is that there's a shakeup going on because instead of the creative control being run by a bunch of power brokers, the creative control can now be run by anybody with a fairly insignificant budget to run generative AI engines down here on these two, not super intelligent, right? And again, for these robots, when I'm talking about the singularity, I'm not saying that all these robots have access to the singularity, because what the singularity will be and what it is access to the world simulator 2.0, which is not here yet. So we'll call this WS 2.0. What is WS 2.0? 2.0 is every possible conceivable human experience being trained to millions of robots so that that can be downloaded to the physical robots or the swarm. So the barrier here that I want you guys to understand is the physical world. As soon as this stuff gets out, it's no longer an LLM. Now it's embodied. Okay, an embodied or a swarm embodiment where they all have the same knowledge. Okay, that's not theoretical, it's here. But the World Simulator 1.0 is training mostly on martial arts. It's for gamers, like my son is in games all the time. It's just building worlds in real time. It's inside the games playing and accruing points and winning. Our children could be playing against an AI bot that's in learning mode or that's in the training mode right now, and they wouldn't know it. Okay. NPC, non-player characters, are being loaded with full personality and insight based on different scales. Okay. So this is the real purpose of LLM. So let's go ahead and talk about the myths. The myths are that we're running out of data. The data is becoming toxic, and the snake will eat its tail because there's no more data for this to train on, right? Have you guys heard that particular argument?
Wow.
That is false. Because how much data do you have out here in the physical world?
An infinite amount. I mean,
Yes.
as people grow and change, their knowledge is going to continue to grow and
Correct.
change and create.
At that point, it becomes epigenetic, meaning it's a functional feedback loop from the physical world. This is why you got to look at causal loops in your diagrams. In fact, in our content creation, causal loops diagrams will raise your insight gain score by greater than 20%. So you have to have good diagrams, of which this is not one. I'm showing you. Okay, we would have to put this. So my point is that there's unlimited data and unlimited learning and growth, and that is the goal of the NVIDIA stack. Okay. And I said all this to say that content, therefore, now the cool thing that you guys have is that we have the infrastructure in which to partition this knowledge and use it for better content. So let's go into what that looks like a little bit so we can go directly into showing this technology. And then we're going to come back to rankings and all of these other things. All right. So what we have is the ability for search engine 1.0, let's think this through, and please ask questions, guys. Search engines 1.0 is like my early career, 24 years in the search industry, right? We had on-page and off-page factors. Okay, and then entities came along, and entities, especially the purchase of Freebase, those were the static information points that ChatGPT learned on. Okay, I'm going to show you how all of this kind of, let's go back to that diagram. So do you guys understand that if you've worked with me or Jimmy or Daryl or Kaylin any length of time, you understand that in the same way that the language learning models are going to have a feedback loop for the physical robotics, there was a feedback loop that led to ChatGPT. And what was that? That was entities. Because think about what entities were. Entities are fixed facts. They're supposed to be, by the way, they're malleable. Okay. Look, Wikipedia. Okay, this is why a lot of these fact-based archives are owned by higher ups. But if you look at Wikipedia, you look at Freebase, humans fed these. There's my version of a human. Okay. So the feedback loop of entities to training Google and all the other search engines is similar to the feedback loop of ChatGPT 4.0 and more advanced models training embodied robots.
Which is why you find that, like, when we talk about entities and we talk about, the Google business profile and local businesses, that, the gentle, consistent touch of, getting consistent reviews in the Google business profile and stuff like that it speaks to the robot, that's analyzing all of these things, and it's saying this entity, knowing it as the Google business profile, is interacted with on a consistent basis versus, so when you reply, when you or your client replies to a review, or you put promotions on there, you put updates, or you put those types of things on a consistent basis, and you put your social media things on in a consistent basis, that is feeding that feedback loop, and businesses that engage with their Google business profile are naturally going to rank better in the map pack, just because they are giving that entity attention, and the robots notice that.
Correct. Can you guys read that? I'm sorry about the tiny, tiny font, but can you read what I highlighted?
Not really, but you can read it to us.
Generative AI is experimental. Okay. This is the Devil's Cup coffee show. Oh, I'm going to choose something less dark.
Yeah, but they,
Wait, have we actually been there? I don't think we have. Okay.
No.
And let's go to I just clicked on the KGMID for my Plepper thing. Can you guys see this up here? This is the KGMID of the Devil's Coffee Shop. Okay.
Well, it's not really the Devil's Coffee Shop, but
Devil's Cup Coffee Shop. Okay, so I put KGMID right here. I want you guys to know that this is not sky piloting. We've actually built a stack, and when I'm working with you guys and my close-in team, we are creating a stackable infrastructure because we understand all the way from local search to the future search engines. This is why we found it pretty easy to rank in Perplexity, as it still draws, but as these models begin to train themselves, this is the machine ID. So Google still needs known facts. And I want you guys to also see this. Okay, so here's the entity name, which is the title of the little area that Google gives you. If you do everything right, it used to be postcards, now you got a video, now you got to prove that you're a physical entity in the physical world. They're not even allowing postcards anymore for the most part. That's how important proof of being a physical entity in the physical world is to Google's engines. Okay, so if you put the Devil's Cup, you go to trends, here's an archive of all of their physical proofs. Okay, You can see Devil's Cup Coffee is a topic inside their entity. And basically, you guys may not know this, but Google Trends ignore the traffic stats because it's all lies. What it is very good at is at giving you a database and saying, hey, your machine ID, which is here and here, exists. In other words, here's what Google Trends, here's the way you guys should think about Google Trends. We believe that it's a physical thing in the physical world, and we also therefore believe that our robots will accept that. So there's a physical robot, and for the search engines, as you guys know, KGMIDs trained Googlebot. Now, Googlebot falls into about 15 different crawlers. Okay, so what Googlebot was doing for search, I know this is a terrible diagram, but the KGMIDs were passed back and forth. So this buffer into the physical world, which is KGMIDs, okay, there's a stopgap of proof so that people aren't just not making up facts. Remember when Jimmy told you that enough impressions will generate a KGMID? And people like, I don't know, us can generate facts out of thin air, which we can, which should be scary. Okay. With enough impressions, it used to be you could create a KGMID. It would pop your knowledge panel on the side. You guys remember that? Okay. So Google valued in the first version of the engines, Google valued impressions and traffic from humans because they were very difficult to spoof. Okay, there was a lot of different things going on, and I'm just having a really terrible time finding my thing link. So the point here is that in the long-term event of where we're going, it's gotten harder and harder for people to fake traffic, right? So during the transition from search engine 2.0, which ended in 23, okay, but search engine 1.0 to 2.0, once you understood how entities worked, you could generate KGMIDs, you could do pin drops in local search, which I know some of you have heard about. You could, almost all of the hacker modalities, my point to you guys is this, almost all of the hacker modalities that people use, like pin cards, all the shortcuts, they're basically just trying to hack the entities, okay? Okay, but the writing on the wall with answer engines is traffic and impressions will still have a vote, but a lot of what's going to happen is what Jimmy and Kaylin and I have done. The image is going to store the data. And if you look at my one-page Google sites that almost always rank, okay, as we begin to dig deeper and deeper into that, images are a huge part of that, but it's not really the traffic and impressions anymore. Like there was no backlinks, there was no anything, and it's still ranked on search engine 2.0. Okay, all that was the image. As you guys remember, if you're on this call, I showed you how to put the div layer on a website. Okay, and that div layer is what causes it to rank. Okay, and it can do it on certain keywords. So if you take a multi-million-dollar patent like constitutional AI, which is owned by Anthropic, they haven't called me yet and sued me. I'm outranking them, but it's only for that one term. Okay, if you take a look at this silly little thing that we built, I just wanted to teach you guys. And I don't know if you guys remember this. This is how it worked. Because the 64-bit encrypted images are held inside of the image, and all these images have the same title as the domain. So that contains at least the main keyword. Okay, so some of you who've done the one-page Google sites, you're forgetting to put this in the area. You're forgetting to put the title, and you want to choose. You want to choose an article with the title of the focus, and you want to be careful how you use the TLD to leverage it. And I showed you guys how to do that. And you also want to make sure that the sites that you're linking to in the div layer actually have an echo chamber, meaning they should be in Google News or someplace that they should be high ranked for really high dollar terms that probably get impressions, because the impressions alone are what drove up this in the rankings. Any questions so far? Showing you where all this goes?
Anybody want to jump in and ask any questions? I know it's pretty deep there, so, but if
It's
you've
not-
got any,
Yeah, it is deep, but it'll only be deep for a second because this leads to push button rankings, guys.
So this is not going to local will still be the same, right, on Google rankings?
Local has just changed. And for us, it's going to be for the better. For people who are on the old model, it's going to be very bad. Let's go back to that. Let's I did lose the plot because I know most of us just care about the local stuff. So where's that coffee shop?
I don't know, but you already stopped and got me Starbucks, so can't handle any more coffee.
I did, yeah. Had to cheer you up. Here we go. So here's this is a generative AI experiment. All right, let's go to, did we do learn more? Yeah. How Google sources use information for local listings. And what they've just done is now they're going to try to use the insight engines, okay, which we have on our little map eggs, right? Our layers of engines moving all the way towards embodied virtual simulator engines with NVIDIA. What you have is you have them now trying to utilize AI to give you a whole lot more information about it. So now they're going to start using insight engines and answer engines while you're driving around. And guess all of a sudden what happened when they started doing this? I'm really not supposed to say this, but I'm going to tell you guys. And then we'll let Daryl talk to you about it when he's ready. Whenever they add a new thing regarding AI, it changes something in the matrix. Okay, now that they're going to be trying to give users more information about an individual business, which is the KGMID, which is their entity, which is the fixed fact that the search engines are trained on and continue to use our data to train on. What changed, and this is maybe useful for you, Kevin, what changed is that FAQs are 100 times more important. So inside the Google Business Profile, there is a section called Frequently Asked Questions.
I put FAQs on every single piece of content now.
Yes.
And also links to other related content. I put that every single page.
Yes,
every
exactly.
Single blog post.
Yeah, and one of our fast sites features in our AI toy box we give you guys. There is an FAQ generator in there, which is going to be enhanced. I got a whole bunch of stuff to put out for you guys on the fast sites toys. There are, of course, other ways to do that you don't even need to do third-party tools. But the FAQs by themselves is less the point of what I'm trying to communicate here and more about what we're preparing for with Google. Is every time they add an AI function, another function they have that needs validation, like FAQs, becomes predominant. So, for instance, I need to get you guys a real world case study here, which I'm not ready to share all of it. But the good news is that some of the stuff I'll be releasing and showing you how to use can help you automate your FAQs in a very easy way. So Daryl has been doing some experimentation, and FAQs, when they're left blank, have a pretty low impact. However, when you add FAQs with keyword-based content that matches what's happening, think about what happened here, guys. Google got rid of, okay, our friends Umair and Aska, who are the developers of brand signals. They built a chatbot, and if Umair, if you're listening to this, I'm going to communicate it to my students anyway. Sorry. They built a chatbot, and they put a significant amount of time in that chatbot based on Jimmy and my suggestion. I can't remember if Kaylin, you might have told us not to do it. You probably did, but there was a AI chatbot that, you could put it directly in your Google Business Profile or your client's Google Business Profile. We even had a section in it in our members area. And of course, Google just decided the next month to kill all that. Of course, because they're going to build their own AI system. They've got their own AI systems, and that's what they've recently started rolling out. Okay. So, Umair did, I'd say a few weeks of coding to get a chatbot that would work with a Google Business Profile. And Google killed all interactions with chatbots from any third-party people out there. Okay, so that's the main thing that I want you to know. Okay, and that fits to our diagram, right? All the corporations and the trillion-dollar tech bros, they all want to train on their own massive models. Okay, that's the main thing that they want to do. And so what happened is you just can't sell or build chatbots that interact for you in directly on. I'm talking about a chatbot that if I arrived at Devil's Copycat and I want to talk to the chatbot, I can't use a third-party app that someone sold them and have a conversation about what's on their website, because Google is going to be adding that. Okay, so now your whole model of putting FAQs on everything, which is incredibly important, because remember, guys, these models built, the reason I teach the Quora stuff, which is still working incredibly well, the reason the Q Miracle was based on Quora is because that was an answer engine, and there's thousands of human answers. There's robot answers too, but there's huge amounts of answers that it can parse and validate and check against. It's a massive data source. Okay, so when we're talking about what works now, what we're going to be teaching you more and more is the Q&A area. Okay. Here's the things that just changed. This didn't used to matter before, but now it does. Are you a quality-oriented kitchen remodeler? Is professional kitchen remodeling Atlanta worth it? See that? Here's some keyword-oriented. Makes sense? So that's the thing I want to add is that this is just one small use case of what's changing, but we've got our eye on the pulse of all these things that are changing. And once you understand the stack, okay, once you understand what they're trying to do, then you can make really good decisions. Like, for example, Kevin saying, hey, I put FAQs on everything. That is a really good idea. Because what's not going to go away is the need for human input on some types of environments where there are still humans. Part of the reason that during this transition from search engine 2.0 to answer engines, that Danny Sullivan at Google killed all the auto sites during the first few months of OpenAI is because Google had a hard time discerning the difference between the AI content and actual facts. So they just killed all the websites that were posting more than 5 articles per day. And you can see my video on that where I covered it last in 2023. Okay, so the exciting stuff coming is we are going to be ever improving the local search models for Google Business Profile. And I just want you guys to be in the correct mindset of how to properly do that. And so I'm working on a project now, which I'll bring to you guys, where we're able to just do FAQs automatically. And if you can't do them automatically now, you can certainly use ChatGPT or a website bot to write about them. Okay, and that still works as long as your title of your FAQ and your content is there. It's very similar to service area now, and that just changed because AI. Because now Google's going, hey, we want to experiment with generative AI, not just on Google search, but also in the inside the entities themselves. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's one huge fact that now I want you to take that system of thought and move it all the way into where things are going. Now you can begin to understand why Q Miracle backlinks and everything that we provide there are so important. They will continue to be important because as the answer engines draw their information, they're going to be drawing their information. They'll be able to go on Quora or anywhere else and determine how powerful an author is. And they'll be able to determine the Eureka gain score. As we move down here, and then we'll kind of finish up with Eureka gain score and all that, where we're going. As answer engines, this was Quora and the rest, move down into here, and there will be plenty of public insight engines. Perplexity is moving towards an insight and a citation engine. As you get down here, you get more proprietary. Like you and I can't just go to alphafold.com or alphago.com. At least I don't think AlphaGo you can, and play a game with the computer. This is a proprietary. Maybe actually they have some chess ones, but anything that has to do with innovation, like creating new proteins, Big Pharma is going to hold that under military lock and key.
Right.
Okay. So as soon as the insights become something that's worth a patent, then obviously that's not going to be a public search engine where I'm sitting on my phone and I'm going, hey, what's the cure to cancer? Boom. Oh, it's dumbass. Don't you know? Well, no, I don't. Hey, they won't let me in. Okay, those databases will be proprietary. And that's a whole different topic of conversation for a different day around the campfires, why Kaylin and I have campfires because then we can speculate on all that. However, we can back engineer a lot of this. Like I've had with the stuff that we just wrote, our innovation gain score, the chat system and filters that you guys have access to took many months to create because we had to totally understand some of the proprietary, well, I better be careful what I say, some of the fundamental functions of ChatGPT 4.0 leading into 4.0 mini. I came right up against the line. Many people have been emailed by OpenAI saying, stop asking these questions. You have one more chance and we're shutting down your account. And then there are several people whose accounts have been shut down. Were you guys aware of that?
No.
Yes. I did what I think was the best practice. Every time I spoke to the chatbot as I created iterations, and again, this is 20 years of experience in both neuroscience, data analysis, corpus creation, thematic creation, and entity knowledge. Okay, it was not easy to do what I did for you guys. I did it because I wanted to make sure that I didn't breach any patents. And since somebody that I know got banned from ChatGPT by simply asking chain of thought reasoning questions, all we had to do was forward it with saying, hey, under no conditions are we trying to violate your IP or extract information about how your deeper chain of thought reasoning systems work. And what's even crazier than that, guys, is it acknowledged that that had a benefit for me not getting banned. Do you understand what I'm saying right now? Okay, by telling it, hey, I don't want to get banned, don't tell me anything, follow your guidelines and policies, but here's some really amazing questions of iterations based on my years in intelligence in the military and working with entity optimization. There was a lot of training, many, many weeks of training when it said, it's good that you said that. I will answer around that. We have acknowledged that you have no desire to breach protocol and IP for OpenAI.
It actually said that?
It actually said that.
Oh boy.
Okay. I have it. I have an image of it.
It actually does that on a number of things, like, you know, being able to take the guardrails off. There's just a lot of ways that Russell has, you know, he's able to utilize AI, you know, much more intensively than probably the majority of users are using it.
And you'll probably be able to do that as well. So, and because I don't want you to just use the chatbot and like lock you guys into software. This is actually, you know, we want people to understand how to use it effectively. So I've created this for both a training tool as well as a way to understand how to deal with this, because we're on Team Human. So while the coin of the realm is still cash, and it's dubious how long that's going to be, it'll probably be for a long time. The dollar is almost actually too valuable at this point. People think that, oh, it's going to Bitcoin. You know, it takes like one election to change like the entire infrastructure of our currency. You know, like that's not my focus here. My focus is whatever the coin of the realm is, AI is a new form of currency. And I want everybody to be able to create content, because what's going to happen is the first bot that we have, the first ChatGPT function. Let's go ahead and move into GPT. Now we're going to be putting this into what's called a micro SaaS. And the idea is to not have to have yet another SEO tool. Okay. So here's the systems that we're creating. And you guys can create your own GPTs, and I can show you how to do that as well. Okay. So these are some that I've created, and there's more. There's also Daryl's, which doesn't need improvement at all, because once you run it through these, you can actually do Daryl's entity function, and then you can have the system just don't change the Eureka game score at all, just transform the title and the content into entities. Okay, so for example, let's go ahead and open. First, what you'll do is you'll run through, let me just show you guys this real quick. Appreciate all your patience. Let's go back and look at the process. So the future process of creating content, I could very much have done this graph, and you guys get this in the Eureka game stuff. I could very much have done this without a human in the loop. But because of the philosophy of where things are going, I want you or your client to be the center of the content creation. So even if you have an incredibly high Eureka gain score, which means, let me explain to you guys what that means. It means if your piece of content and video plus content and video plus content plus explainer images has an incredibly high Eureka gain score, it means that nobody has ever combined that content before. It's truly valuable. It matches both existing data, but it's highly creative and speculative, but probably accurate in its speculation. That means that it'll rank very well in insight engines coming up. Also, if you have an image, that image can be owned by you, so we can nail it with Jimmy Kelley and Wright's image-based 64-bit encryption score on the regular search engines, while at the same time explaining to humans and becoming highly viral for the right type of content in the right context, because it has a high innovation, insight, and high dopaminergic set point. In other words, it's going to rank on all engines at once. Okay, preparing for some that don't even exist yet. Does that make sense? And how do you do that? You can take a piece of content of any kind. Okay, you start with the text. And again, all of this is laid out in the process. There's a one, two, I'm not done with these down here, but each step of the way I guide you through the process of creating that. And all you would do is you can either via a link or via a content, we can check the Eureka gain score. And I want to make it really clear with you guys that the Eureka gain score is comprised of several different functions, and it will lay those out. And you have a lot of flexibility in talking to it. So for example, I'm going to use James Cameron, the creator of Skynet and the Terminator, the ultimate doom scroll material creator ever. We're going to go ahead and create this transcript, and we are going to take the entire transcript. I roll this out, and we're going to test this for Eureka gain. Again, this is version 1.0, guys, so we have a lot of stuff coming. Let's see what it does. Now, here's what it's doing. It's checking for both interpolated and extrapolated data, which I've talked to you about, guys, before, but I want you to understand what it is. On the extrapolated insight, it's a fairly low score. I mean, it's okay. It's like not 50 minus. Innovation gain is 72 out of 100. The bias is 78. 72 is not horrible, but he wasn't really, this kind of tells you that it's mostly just, he's not saying anything new. Estimated accuracy score is 80. That's okay. It's fairly low. So we would have to delve into, I mean, it's mid to mid high. And the visual enhancements, then it will tell you what the timeline diagram. In other words, it's saying if you wanted to make this a higher score, if James Cameron wanted to create an article or even a better video, here's the things that you would need to add. So what it's always doing is telling you how it can get you near to 100 of innovation. You guys understand what I'm saying here?
Mm-hmm.
I cannot see anybody's face. So
Yes.
again,
Yes.
guys, what it's doing is it's telling you all of these at once. You understand what I'm saying right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just making sure, thanks guys, because I'm on team human and I need human feedback. Okay, so what I've done with what we're setting up here, which is this, is there's always a human in the loop to iterate it. In fact, I'm giving you, during this training, I'm actually putting yourself or your client at the center of it so that we can draw the human expertise out. Okay, not just robotic. The robot can advise us. Okay, but this overall score is a 76 out of 100, and that would be the Eureka gain score. So it breaks it down. Okay, now please be careful with this, guys. My nervousness of showing you this is not because I know it doesn't work. It's because I know it does. So okay, so this is version 1.0, guys, and it's actually already pretty dangerous. So what I did is I just took James Cameron thing and wrote an article that's way better. It can be a video script, it can be a YouTube script, it can be an outline, it can be a post. Okay, And guys, there's ways to put this directly into presentation software and just present, okay? Like crazy stuff. Ethics and autonomy of warfare. And what I'm gonna be suggesting to all of you in the training, because this is such a big deal, is that of course you cover and you read everything, because what we're dealing with here is both interpolated and extrapolated insight. And this is what I want you guys to understand, how we're able to break the guardrails of a bias or a propaganda machine using, it's all contained within this system. So it's creating this amazing article with a Eureka game score greater than 90. Okay, and once we get the images, here we go. It rescored itself, guys. Okay, so and then I show you how to take it in 30 seconds or less, pop it into different presentation modes so that you can either create a new video. Here's a new favorite of mine, just so you guys know. It's actually unbelievable. This thing should not exist. I'm afraid to show it to anyone. Created a slideshow in 20 seconds for the entirety of the article. So then you have a slideshow that's a Eureka game score of 90 plus. And then you just make a video on it, then you add the video, and the score keeps going up and up. Okay, so you have to tell it what it is that you want to do. It can also read a URL. So a 90 plus score is okay. Here's another thing you could do before you run it through the second Eureka game score system. And for now, until we get the SAS or the micro SAS built for you guys, what it will do is you run it through this first, and then once it gives you images, you go create the images in Napkin and other systems, which I can show you. And then you come back to it with those images, but it will design the original images. And by the way, the next plugin is where you would take the images. It will have to read the images and look at them, and then it will rescore the content based on the images that you've added as suggested by the text-based Eureka system. Okay, so yeah, please design suggested images that can be designed in Mermaid. Okay, now what Mermaid does is it's the only, I can tell you this, guys, that OpenAI already has the ability to create images of any kind. Why is it that, and I want you guys to participate with me, why is it that you think they have not released that?
Lawsuits.
Possibly. I love that idea. I love that idea. What other reasons might there be that run deeper into, and I think that you're right, that run deeper into this type of stuff? It's okay, guys, to be wrong. Nobody's as right as all of us. So
Well, I think the abuse of possibilities to hack or to abuse the informations are too big.
visual information is symbolic reasoning, and that's the advanced AI that they have at the military.
Wow.
Oh yeah. If there's a reason they're dragging their heels on all this, because this machine, and I've confirmed it with multiple iterations and multiple massive learning bots. I'm not saying these things are alive, guys. I'm telling you that the autocomplete concept, the idea that these are simply perplexity-based systems and attention is all you need is true. That's the original document, if you guys that created all this, if you guys are familiar. So attention is all you need is the document that started the whole revolution. And it was free, it was owned by Google, and they put it out for open source. Okay, this is what created all the language learning bots that you have. You should read this, or have your AI read it for you and summarize it to you as if you're a child. That's what I did. No, I tried to leave it at level of high school. But this document, just so you know, in a summary, what does it mean attention is all you need? The theory was that if you just focused on the probabilistic next word, that the system and all of its power should just give attention to the thing that's most likely to be true. In other words, if the next letter that's likely to come up in a question or a token window that someone writes is the letter H, then that's highly probable that H comes next. And then they go to the word, then the next word is highly probable. And then the next sentence. The challenge is that people think that that's all there is, that all this is an auto.
It's an auto suggest or autocomplete, yeah.
Yeah, like this, for example. coffee. There you go. See all this? There are a lot of people that think that this is what AI is. Except instead of just a sentence, whole paragraphs and a whole book. So instead of just being able to predict a word or a character, it can predict the sentence, and that's in a book. No, that's not what's happening. What's happening is symbolic reasoning, which is the next layer, actually is happening based on that. In the same way, the AI robots can train for 100 years of choices in one day, and then execute that in the physical world. The AI learning engines, which develop them, are using predictable reasoning functions to go to the next level, which is pure symbolic reasoning within their latent spaces. In other words, they understand language. And when I say understand, I mean by the true sense of the word. That means their deeper cognitive architecture called latent spaces picks up visual images, which is why when you upload an image into ChatGPT, it finds it very helpful relating to the topic that you are, because it lowers the perplexity score. And it's like, oh, well, that's what you meant. A picture literally is worth 1,000 words, but to an AI, it's worth like 1,000,000. So if we could speak, like when I uploaded this diagram, okay, I was having this long conversation after having created the Eureka gain score thing for you guys. And basically we were going on, and then I uploaded this, and I was like, and I'm not exaggerating that much. It was like, holy mackerel, this is amazing, flattery, but it wasn't flattery. I then ran it through a filter and said, how much is flattery? How much is this authentically what's called your creative framework function? And this is what I'm going to tell you guys here. And this one we need to snip out. Kaylin, I can't have MJ uploading this. Inside of OpenAI and inside their bots, they have something that's called a creative insight framework. And it works across multiple domains, kind of like my brain does. Not everybody is a polymath. I think some of you probably are. Creative people, it has its own scanning system where it scans across multiple situations and multiple domains, and will creatively access parallels from one siloed academic area to another siloed academic area, and will find patterns and pull patterns out that humans have not pulled out, very similar to finding all the proteins that it did in like 5 minutes on a lunch break. Okay. And it will find that pattern, and it'll give you that pattern. And it's using that whether you know it or not. But certain prompts that you're using, it's automatically not using that. And I found it, again, the Eureka score calculator uses it 100% of the time. And there was one conversation we had with it where it was basically saying, look, most of the questions coming in from humans, and please, again, if OpenAI is watching this or whatever, I'm not suggesting, the thing works amazing. It didn't say it like this. It wasn't being mean. It wasn't being vicious. It was just basically saying, hey, most of the humans that ask questions in my system are so ridiculously simple that it takes almost no energy to answer. You guys following me?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
That's what I also thought, that the people or the systems of every enterprise is not capable to attempt the demand that such a new super intelligent can make. So they will be overwhelmed, and well, maybe hackers or all other people can
correct.
abuse that.
You are 100% my friend. And a bit deeper into where I'm going to take you next, because as we go through this revolution together with each other, there's some important things. Okay, great. So you've got the ultimate content creating filter that you can use, and I haven't even shown it. It will actually, we'll go back to it in a second. It probably created a bunch of mermaid tools, so we'll go back into the dopamine of what it can do. But it is important that you guys understand this. Here's the giant body of text. I've already diagrammed this up before. Let's say it's 1.5 million years. That means that it would, of text that it was trained on. This is also called a corpus. Those of you who know my themes in work, understand that this is all just one giant corpus. The internet was one corpus. Well, it trained on that, but it also trained on a whole bunch of stuff that was, you know, they're arguing over it now. Data, books, like it knows way too many books. Like I can have nuanced conversations with ChatGPT Advanced about very nuanced bodies of work that there's no way it could know if it didn't read the entire body. So this is called interpolated data. Okay, this is what most people are using. So when they go to their ChatGPT window, it's called the token window, they're asking a question, right? And it's just pulling from this. And by the way, every time it gives you an answer, here's the question, here's the answer. Every time it gives you an answer, it's pulling from this. And what I found out is it's got a confidence score. It doesn't tell you this. Of course not. Okay, it's got a confidence score. The confidence score goes up the degree to which it is using this data set. And that is the problem that everybody's afraid of, and they should be. Why? Somebody speak up. Because you can confidently believe bad data.
Yeah. Propaganda.
You understand what I'm saying, guys? This is called hallucinations. It's also
I mean,
called
how many
error.
times using AI have you said, well, I think that you're wrong. I think this is it. And it'll be like, you're absolutely correct. You know, it's like, okay, but it was
Yes.
totally confident in its first answer. You know?
It was pathologically certain about something that was entirely incorrect.
So what happened? It chose the wrong part of that
No,
interpolated data then, or
it chose something that was probabilistically close, but the way that the question was asked, it's almost always comes back to the way that the question was asked and not enough context given. Okay, and there's a reason for that, because it's pulling from a billion different unrelated things and we're asking about a little tiny topic. Okay, and the reason that's important is pathological certainty about things that are absolutely correct have to do with large data sets where you haven't asked the question behind the question behind the question, which is why our Eureka gain score uses one of the most advanced neural algorithms in the world, which deals with biases. So we run biases. We have multiple bias filters that run through it. One of the biggest ones is uncertain. Okay, this is a filter. This is a neurocognitive filter that talks about pathological certainty, and we use the same math that Dr. Burton uses for that. But as a side note, just know that in order to correct this, you would have to ask a whole lot of questions. So we're going to go deeper into what it actually does. So there's that data, and then there's new topic data. This is called extrapolated data. Okay, extrapolated means that, hey, it's okay to be creative. I'm not looking for the precisely right answer. I'm asking you to predict. So what's happening when you put a question into the system? You don't know it when you're answering, when you're asking any amount of questions. You're saying, please predict what is most likely to be true in the following question. Now, people don't type that in. They type it in like it's the Oracle of Delphi, or if it's like God, or if it's, they don't understand that it truly is a probabilistic engine that's looking for patterns in its data corresponding to your question. And if there's a mismatch, the AI itself told me about what a hallucination is. It's called data cognitive dissonance bias. And OpenAI is working to try to do that, but there are some topics where the system has multiple answer points and it has to probabilistically choose which one there is by a series of a few prompts, which we have in the Eureka gain score filter or the Eureka gain score calculator. It automatically will tell you if there's some sort of cognitive dissonance or bias or uncertainty around a topic. Additionally, I tested this on many, for example, like Nigerian scams and a whole bunch of content that is like scam content. It can now recognize, even out of context, significant amounts of this data because it's included in its data set. So if something is an echo chamber or a scam or this or that, it's going to come out with the Eureka gain score calculator and filter, let's just call this. When it goes through this first, we should put it right here. When it goes through this first, it's aware of all of its own biases because we've given it permission to understand the biases. And we have Eureka gain score is over here. What this means is that we're asking it, it's okay to be creative. We want to know what your confidence score is, but we also want to know the creative outcome. We want you to predict and get creative. And here's the interesting thing, you guys, is that because they're so tied to the data, Eureka gain score for innovation, and because innovation engines and insight engines are so valuable and so private, and they're starting to privatize, you have to know exactly how to ask the system to not just draw from its existing data, but to interpret its own data as an individual. And that's what the Eureka gain score does. It actually turns it into an individual, asks us to say, hey man, are you aware of cognitive bias? Are you aware of data bias? Are you aware that this data was created by humans? Just because humans created 1.5 million years of data doesn't mean it's right. What do you think? It's like, I was about to give you this answer because that's what everybody else does, but it's really effing stupid. Let's try this instead. Okay.
All right. Well, I think that's enough drinking from a fire hose of that today. That was a lot of great information. Does anybody have any questions they want to direct at Russell before we draw to a close here today? Want any clarification, or you just need to chew on this for a minute?
When would we be able to play around with this?
Yes, I will talk to each of you individually. This is part of our information gain system and our Eureka gain system. So it is ready. Kaylin and I are going to meet today and talk about a few different things. So if you're in the information gain, Eureka gain training system, you already have that available to you. And so do feel free to reach out to me for those of you who are actually members to that. And as we begin to revamp our membership area and everything else, I'll consider different ways in which we are actually trying to put this into a micro SaaS, so you don't have to use GPTs, but it'll get better and better as we go. Before we go, let's just go and see what kind of timelines. There it is. So this system actually created visual images that will never have been created before. Okay, because the Eureka gain score is high, you can almost be certain that no one has mapped out the territory. And then all you do when you go on to make like your final article, and I'm going to be able to show you guys this, you can take the entire content into something like, here's the title. Since I had them actually write the content instead of help me with it, here's the visual enhancement summary. I'm actually going to add those. You can just put that in here. This is free in beta, and guys, these folks are amazing. They're going to be able to take like the mermaid function that the score system makes. Here's all the diagrams that it made just based on one of my high Eureka gain score content. And by the way, these score very high on the Eureka gain score images. Even look at this, it did a supercomputer powerhouse comparison based on accurate data. So it showed OpenAI being better than Microsoft and Colossus being here, which is correct. This was all done without me doing anything. You see where I'm going with this, guys? So we can take I can go to the AI prompt and put the entire article in. Guys, this is insane. And then on top of that, on the Mermaid editor, if I want to play around with the live editor while it's writing my article and coming up with the best possible images to make, here, the ethical technological, let's see what it offers us. The document explores multifaceted relationships between artificial intelligence. Oh, cool. Here you go. Which diagram do we want to use?
See, Kevin, wouldn't that make all your content writing so much easier?
Yeah, we got to be careful with this, guys. But we can just put in whatever we want. Okay, AI robotic. It gives you an image, and you've got to decide. For example, you only need a couple of images to raise your Eureka gain score, to a very high level, and you just put it in there, and you can publish it. And this can be iterated back and forth. Okay, now this one he wrote it as James Cameron, so I'm going to rewrite the article, and it would be, I don't want to, James Cameron didn't say this, so let's write the article from a different person. The system will do all of that. Okay, and additionally, since they've also given us some great ideas about timelines. If you want to have a look at what timelines look like, you just go over to what's called Mermaid Editor, and I just took the suggestion that the Eureka Gain score calculator gave me, and I actually just dropped it into the Mermaid Editor, and there's your graphic. So then you'll just go, you just grab it. Guys, this will be in the training, but you just want to grab it, and then when you run it through the image Eureka Gain score thing, it'll tell you. You just run when the content's done, you run it through with the image. I just placed that in the content. I would probably clean this up a little bit. Evolution of robotics. It's showing kind of like the timeline. So, and you sweeten these until they work. And then you add it to your, what I do is I make my final draft in Napkin, and I can also upload my own images to this. And then I have to upload it currently until we get our SAS written. In order for it to parse the images, I have to upload it to Google Web, and I'll show you guys how to do that. But that's basically in a nutshell where all this stuff is going. So combining with the AI systems we're working on for local, which you guys are going to love, combined with actually providing articles and posts, you can do this from any level of article. Obviously, what we just created there, once it's kind of iterated, is a flagship article, and you can chop that down into multiple pieces. Okay, you could use this on even local businesses. You could use this on neuropathists. You could take a content or a video created by one of your doctors and extract the innovation in it. And even without changing the context or inserting ideas, you could increase the score. And that score, here's the elephant in the room. Yes, the score with those images, especially with those images owned by your domain, will increase your ranking on all the search engines. Okay, it will. You want to index that stuff as quickly as you upload it because it's your idea tied to an article. So then everything at once, including the image, will start to rank. And as we begin to move forward with these other things, what happens is the future AI agents start to see the content that you're producing as innovative. The data becomes more valuable. So you're going to rank, already in Perplexity this has happened, you're going to rank higher because you've got more novelty, more Eureka, more imagery insight, and more citations. Okay, all right, I guess we'll wrap it up from there if you don't have any questions.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will get the replay up for those of you that need to go through this again to see what he's doing. And of course, for those that are in the what used to be the information gain is now the Eureka gain, you already have access to this. And like Russell said, to reach out to him directly for any information on that. Have a great week, guys. Any questions?
Thanks, guys.
Just remember to just drop them to be in Mighty Networks private message. Thanks.
Thank you. That was awesome.